So the first part of this series, we're going to start with creating a personal budget and really deep dive into what it means to create a personal budget and how this really can affect yourself and how you can affect your finances for years to come. First one is understanding your income. Now, when it comes to income, guys, it is the single biggest tool that you are going to have. So whether it is the paycheck that you're bringing home, the side hustle that you're using, whether it is alimony, if it's child support, regardless of where the income, this is where passive income is also the generation and why a lot of people really do focus on the passive income. You have to make sure that you can track this, especially if it is variable income. So depending on the field of study or where your career path is leading, if you're looking at, having a set salaried position where every week, every 2 weeks, you get an exact same amount of income, or if you're consistent with commissions, if you're sales-based orientated, if you're in the service industry, if you're, a bartender, if you're a server, your income can vary greatly depending how busy you are. And this can be a really big hurdle for a lot of people trying to manage a budget, which this means when it comes to the budget is really looking at it more in a 2-week basis versus it being if you get paid once a month, it might be something that you re-examine on a monthly basis. Now, second part we look at is fixed versus variable expenses, guys. Now, the fixed expenses, these are the things in the budget that are going to remain the same and will always be the same. This could be your car payment. This could be your credit card payments. This could also be your mortgage payment, your rent payment, anything that is going to be pretty much fixed within your life, month to month to month. For instance, for me, we pay our Verizon bill. Our Verizon bill is around $120. We pay our Xfinity internet bill. It is $107 a month. Those are fixed expenses, and those have actually been fixed expenses for multiple years. Now, some of the variable expenses, when you look at the electricity, when you look at consumers' energy and the gas, when you look at the water bill, these are things that are going to be variable expenses. And these are also going to be seasonal expenses, meaning that during the summer, the water bill is a lot higher because we're watering gardens, things of that nature. Also the grass. When you look at the electric bill in the summer, we're running the air conditioning a lot more. This means that you're going to have a much higher bill during those summer months, and you really have to know the variable expenses. Now, a lot of these you can control and you can adjust, and that is one thing we want to look at, guys. When it comes to variable expenses, even when it comes to some of the fixed expenses, you have the power to adjust and change the expenses that you do pay. Now, what I mean by that is if you have an auto loan, you could possibly look at refinance. You could look at a lower rate. You could look at a lower term. Same with mortgages, same with a lot of the fixed expenses. There are some things that are non-negotiable that are just going to be kind of the price of what it is. When you look at products and services, you might have the exact same bill month after month. Now, you do have to strategize for managing both of these debts. Now, again, the variable expenses are ones that you can control, especially when it comes to really the want category. If it's going out to eat, if it is the dining bill, the food expenses, vehicle expenses, things of that nature, you can kind of control on a month to month or even a week to week basis. But overall, these are changes or expenses that are going to change within that personal budget. Now, looking at essential and non-essential spending, this is another big point, guys. When you look at the necessities, this is really breaking it into the needs and the wants category versus the discretionary spending. This, of course, can have a huge impact on your budget, depending not only what you buy, but also the manner that you purchase it in. So what I'm saying by that, essentially, you need a car. So, okay, you need a car. Does that mean you buy a used car that is a $20,000 price tag? Do you buy a new car that is a $40,000 price tag? Do you go extreme and buy a new car that is a $70,000 price tag? There is a entirely different level of expenses, especially when it comes to the discretionary items, on exactly what your budget is going to allow. Because essentially that could mean you have a $300 car payment, a $500 car payment, or a $700 car payment, which again can be super detrimental when you come to the personal budget. Now with this, there are a lot of strategies for really reducing those non-essential spending. This can be looking for deals. This can be coupon shopping. This can be anything that you can do to reduce the spending that you have. Now remember, guys, when we looked at the income at the beginning of this video, when you look at the essential and non-essential spending, you have to see places that you can cut. Because when you get into the budget, the bottom line number of what you have left is what you have for the debt repayment. That's what you have for the investment strategies, which we're going to break down in future videos. Now, budgeting for daily living, this is always one that a lot of people do not really focus on. Allocate funds for groceries, for transportation, for utilities. Some people like to do it more on a regular basis every week, every 2 weeks. Again, some people do it every month, depending on how you're budgeting and how your income really does come in. Now, tips for optimizing really the daily living expenses, guys. You have to see where you can cut. For instance, for me, I was actually getting Dunkin' Donuts quite a few times, 2 or 3 times a week. I have cut that down to one time a week, which means instead of spending roughly $30, 30 plus dollars every single week, I reduced it by essentially to $10, only doing it once a week. So that gives me 20 extra dollars every single week. That gives me $80 every single month, which means now that frees up $80. I know I'm not getting my Dunkin' Donuts, but that does free up $80 every single month that I have the ability to utilize in debt repayment or to invest in different places. Next one we look at, guys, is the realistic goal. The budget will never work. And I repeat, guys, this budget and no budget strategy will work at any time if you are not realistic with the budget. If you're saying, okay, well, I make $3,000 a month, I want to save $2,000. The $1,000 living expense, maybe if you're at home with no bills, could be possible. But for a majority of people, you have to put not only realistic goals, but you also have to put short term and long term objectives on how you're going to reach it. Now, if it has taken you 3 years to accumulate credit card debt, it doesn't mean you're going to pay it off in the next 30 days, unless, of course, you come into a large lump sum of money. But that means 3 years to accumulate the debt. You could probably speed it up, maybe 12 months, you're going to pay off the debt. But again, be realistic when you base out the budget and what you want to do. Now, also with the goals in setting this budget, guys, you want to set aside money for expenses that you kind of see in the future, kind of like what we see with the emergency fund. But this is going to be set aside again. If you're at a point, let's say you pay off your car payment was $300 a month, you're reallocating some of that money. You could even put some of that money into a high yield savings account, let's say $100 or $200 a month, because that was kind of built into the budget. Then you are going to have a pretty hefty down payment when you do need a new car, because you know it is going to come sooner or later. Emergency funds allocation. This is another one, guys. The emergency savings has to be built up. We always follow the advice of Dave Ramsey. Save that first $1,000 and then you go into the hardcore heavy debt repayment fund, guys. Now, the emergency fund, of course, the legitimate or the real emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of expenses. But you'll quickly realize when we look at that income allocation, when you're eliminating the debt and the debt has been eliminated, all of a sudden you have a lot of money to save, you have a lot of money to invest, you have a lot of money to allocate into a lot of different buckets. With that being said, guys, you have to have a debt repayment strategy, whether it is going in with the debt snowball method, if it is going in with the debt avalanche method. You need to pay down the debt and you need to pay it down as fast as possible. Just think of it kind of as a strategy that I use as a game. The more you level up, the more you get, the more that you can push towards that debt. Means that you're going to be paying less interest in the future months for that debt as you continue to really pay it down and pay it off. Once it's eliminated, then the next step of the game or the next level of the game remains in not accumulating and not getting that new debt back into your life. Once it's eliminated, guys, you want it to be wiped out and you want it to be wiped out for good. Next part we look at is budgeting for the irregular expenses. That is right, guys. This is why we do the emergency fund. When you look at car repairs, when you look at something that is out of the ordinary, if you're a homeowner, you might have a furnace, you might have a roof, you might have windows, you might have an air conditioner. This is really building something into the budget, whether it is $50 a month, $100 a month, regardless of what it is. There is going to come a point in time, if it's a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, there will be a point in time where you have some unexpected larger expenses that you're going to have it in the budget. You're already going to have money set aside. So when that does occur, and again, it will occur, it always does. But when something does happen, it is already done for. You already have the money to pay for it. You're not running right back to credit cards and accumulating new debt because you already have the money paid for. Number 9, guys, adjusting the budget over time. You really do need to do the budget at least bare minimum, guys, on a monthly basis. So, looking through your financial statements, you get your bank statement, you get your credit card statement, making sure and understanding the progression that you're making for paying those off and adjusting when it is needed. Again, with some of those expenses that are not set, that kind of are variable, that change, are seasonal, things of that nature, you have to make sure that you're allocating and you're budgeting for those circumstances because, again, things are going to happen. Regular checking expenses against your budget, seeing if you're on par. So if you're paying $100 a month, let's say for your gas bill, all of a sudden it's $280. What changed with it? Where did the usage come from? How are you going to allocate that extra $180 out of that budget? Where is the money going to really come from? And also being able to recognize spending patterns. So when you're in there and making adjustments to the pattern that you've actually made, and a lot of the budgeting and a lot of the strategies that we utilize are really the subconscious and the ability to have the mindset of I am a saver, I am an investor. It really flips the script. Honestly, there was a point in my life where I didn't have any money. We were living paycheck to paycheck. We were accumulating some credit card debt. And there was a point in my life where I didn't want to live like that anymore. And that is where the point a lot of people have to get to where you look at your budget, you look at your credit card payments, you look at the amount calculated out, even how much you pay on a monthly basis in interest, because it is absolutely crazy to see when you're getting a paycheck, let's say again, $3,000 a month, $500 of that is going straight into interest in all different aspects, if not more. It is kind of crazy to see you're working to pay interest to these financial institutions. So, all right, guys, again, this is the first series, or this is the first video of this video series, and I'll catch you in the next video.